This is a patch that I'm putting into the video that I'm making. I want you to understand that I'm going to include in the main video certain clips from a Muslim leader. Please take note of what he is saying. Thank you.
Funny enough, the IRGC cannot operate in Saudi Arabia. Their supporters cannot have bank accounts in the UAE. The other extremist groups, like the Muslim Brotherhood, who are friends with the IRGC and Hezbollah people, they cannot operate in Bahrain, in Oman. These are Muslim countries. Where do they operate? In London, in France, in Washington, D.C., in Australia, in Canada, Toronto. They operate here. They have bank accounts. They register charity. Right.
Monday, the 3rd of July, 2023. This is another one of that what the fuck moments. And in this one, I'm just going to talk about the fiasco that is unfolding around the Western world.
Right. So Macron, the president of France, recently said the Islamic world is in a crisis. In my opinion, yeah, we do have problems. We do have Boko Haram, we have Al-Qaeda, we have Taliban. We have problems, but the broader picture, Islam is very successful, it's growing very fast. And we're doing really well. Dubai is not in a crisis. Abu Dhabi, the UAE, Bahrain, Oman, Kuwait, there's no crisis there. The Muslim countries are doing good there. Only some places there's a problem.
And I just want to explain something. When you're looking at a problem either from a legal point of view or from a mathematical point of view or from a scientific point of view, you will hear people talk about a concept that is a given. Now, when you use that is a given, you refer to something that is a fact that cannot be disputed, like water is wet, the sun is bright, things like that. Indisputable.
I say, no, you are in a crisis. You went to the Muslim countries and you imported the garbage that the Muslim countries wanted to put in prison or isolate away from society. You went and you imported them. Why? For cheap labor. But these Islamist extremists, they don't want to work. They want free welfare. They want to marry French women, blonde hair, blue eyes. They don't have time to work. So look at Poland. They don't complain from Islamic extremism, not a single terrorist attack in Poland. The moment they sense there's a problem, they crack down on it. Polish policy, beautiful.
Now, if we look at where we are today, and I'm talking, if I say we, I'm talking about us, the normal citizens, people that has got families that they must provide for, jobs that they must look after, businesses that they must care for, farms, things like that. That is the we that I'm talking about, the people. We are not part of the elite. Now this elite is a given. Who is part of that elite can be debated. But we know that the WEF has basically collected this elite into one clearly identifiable group. And that elite includes the money bags, the people that basically own about 80% of the world. That elite is there. But there's another component of that elite, and that is a component that is made up of so-called religious groupings. And they're talking about Freemasons, and they're talking about Khazarians and they're talking about this and that and all that shit. You've heard all of it. You guys have heard about all of those movements. Let's call it movements. I call them gangs. That gangs, all those gangs that has got some form of religion as their driving force. The reality is that a lot of that religion is basically satanic if you're a Christian, and for the Muslims as well. They are satanic, but they give you the impression that they care for you. They don't care for you. One of the well-proclaimed targets of this elite, and they publish it widely, is that 85% of us must disappear, evaporate. Now, I don't want to go back to the Dark Ages. I'm just going to talk about the recent history. Look what they did to us with the pestilence. Look what they did to us. Our freedoms were just taken away overnight, and the fucking sad part is a lot of idiots supported that. People were killed by that. People were impoverished by that. Small businesses were destroyed by that. And all in the name of public health. Today, millions, if not billions, are walking around with some shit pulsing through their veins. And they can do nothing about it. Basic human traits has been modified. So there they showed clearly, and if I say they, I talk about the cabal, and if I say we, I talk about us. They say they do these things for our good, which is bullshit. We see now in the Ukraine that coke-sniffing idiot sitting in Kiev is busy selling all the Ukraine assets to the cabal. Assets that the Ukraine citizens are dying for. But the media, the mainstream media, will not report on that. The mainstream media will not report on what was done to us and to humanity with the stories and the rules and the shit of the pestilence. I'm not going to discuss the details on that for the simple reason it is dangerous for me to do that. But if you are a guy or a girl that likes to keep yourself informed, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. So they have clearly displayed their absolute disdain for us, for our lives, for our future. A big enemy of them is a family. That is the foundation of their biggest problem, a family. So that family must be destroyed at all cost. And they do it by things like you see with the rainbow flag shit, and they do it by attacking and disturbing your religion. That is how they will break the foundation of a healthy society. They hate it if you are living on a piece of land where you've got your own water and you're producing your own food. That must also be destroyed. Bill Gates is the biggest owner of farmland in America today. And it happened right under the eyes of the ordinary Americans. They allowed it to happen. Now we see that other plan that they have, the Kalergi plan, to destroy white people, the white race across the globe. is coming closer to being finalized. Because if you look at the streams of immigrants that were allowed into Europe, and I'm saying allowed because that is what it was, that was allowed.
Beautiful. The French, no, come. When they come, they use the resources. They go to Washington, D.C., and they sit in Congress. They support the Iranian regime. They go against the sanctions in Congress, right, with their hijab. Why? Because the ideology is filth to begin with. When you import that, or you allow it in, or you amplify it, or you glorify it in any way, you make your bed, sleep in it. So that is also a problem of the West. The question is, Tina, did the extremists become stronger or the West become weaker? I say it's both.
It was promoted that immigrants are largely cabal soldiers, and they've been called to action in France. You see the results there. Your problem is, during the pestilence, you saw what happened in Australia with the troops. I'm going to call them troops of the cabal. How they absolutely, without respect, fucked ordinary citizens up. Women, children, men, everything. You saw it with your own eyes. But yet they're still in charge today now that that heat wave has simmered down. They're still in charge. They're still in charge all over the West. Putin told them to take a hike. And the West hate him for that. But not the West, the cabal. And they declare him enemy number one. But fortunately for the Russians, Putin said to the cabal, take that. And Xi Jinping did the same. Now your defense now, or response now is going to be, yeah, look at how China has locked up their people for so long and all those camps and all of that. I've got something for you to think about. The Chinese has prepared their nation for a biological attack. Today, as I'm talking to you, they're the only nation that will most probably survive a biological attack. Why? Because they were disciplined and trained into it. Right under our eyes, under the guise of the pestilence. And nobody said a word. They only got criticized for what they were doing. It's time for the West to accept the fact that they overstepped the line. And as with all empires and civilizations in history, none of them last forever. None of them last. We are witnessing the end of the Western Empire. Remnants of the Western civilization is going to survive. Russia is going to be the main custodian of good Western principles. The West, the identifiable West, has got a massive problem. I predicted right at the beginning of the pestilence that what the cabal is doing is going to fire up nationalism. Nationalism in its pure form, not in whatever the fucking media has latched onto it. People are going to realize they will have to fight for their survival. Take note, fight for their survival. But the European citizens, excluding Hungary, excluding Poland, allowed their leadership to import millions of cabal soldiers, and the stupid Europeans welcomed those soldiers. You need to take a look at this video And you must focus and concentrate. Because this guy, a Muslim, is telling you exactly what the problem is. And nobody listened to him. The Arab world warned the Europeans right in the beginning of that flood of Cabal soldiers. But the arrogance of the West made them ignore those warnings. The West has destroyed millions of houses and homes and infrastructure in the Middle East and North Africa under the guise of bringing democracy. They destroyed those countries. The West impoverished the so-called Third World by stealing their resources and prohibiting them from growing their own industrial and commercial core of their countries. Putin and Xi has put a stop to that as well. BRICS is going to be the boat on which the previously suppressed will escape to the open sea and harvest for themselves. Europe, North America is not going to come out of this without serious wounds. That's the facts. We, the citizens, need to be aware of the fact of that 85%. And if we don't do something, we will be part of that 85%. And the cabal will sit comfortably in their ivory towers and laugh at us. You that look at the things happening around you and listening to what I'm saying here and think and understand will realize there's only one way out of this. And the French Revolution showed us what to do. But the question is, do we have the balls to do what needs to be done? Because it's going to mean erasing a massive number of people. People that are cabal agents, cabal warriors, will have to be erased. Let me stick to that word. So think about that. So forget all this shit about people's religion that differs, races that differs. Forget about that. Cultures that differ. Look past that and see a human being. That is what you must look for, because that is what the cabal are going to erase. Think about this and think hard. Look at what's happening in France. That is just the start. The whole Europe, United Kingdom, Canada, and North America, the USA, is going to go that way. And there's nothing they can do to stop it. Nothing. They can do nothing to stop it. Because that is part of the purification. That is part of the purification process that we cannot escape. Our main aim should be to survive. And how will we survive? By taking care of ourselves. Communities will survive. Here in South Africa, we've got a community at Orania. Lots of political shit around Orania and so forth. But Orania is the blueprint of how the white race will survive. Think about that. All those lands that the whites had, countries, is going to be gone. There will be islands, Orania type islands that will survive. And the whole process will start over as it was prior to the Middle Ages. Me and you sitting here talking today, we will most probably not see the end of it, but we are surely seeing the beginning. Have a great day. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.